Welcome back to the channel. Today I show you how I paint a Waffen SS anti-tank specialist. So let's get started. For the foundation I use AK brown base as my base color. I'm building up the layer by layer to keep the contrast high and the detail sharp. We'll be looking in this video at the transition between the Pea Dot 44 on the trousers and the oak leaf on the helmet and on the smock. This is mix is a camo look was a staple of a late war unit, especially on the eastern front, and I show you how to keep the trousers of twin dudes from become a muddy mess. For this project the foundation is everything. I use AK brown base as the base layer for the Pea Dot 44 pattern. This special tune is perfect because it provides a warm, deep rich that you can't get with standard grey or black. After the base coat, I apply Vallejo camouflage black brown as the first step of the actual pattern on the helmet. To paint the blotch for the oak leaf pattern, I use Camo dark green. At this stage I'm focusing on creating irregular organic shapes across the surface. It's important to keep the placement random to capture that authentic look before we move on to the highlights and the smaller dudes typical for this camo. While applying the Camo dark green, I'm making sure to vary the size of the spacing of each boot. The key is to paint the oak leaf scheme is randomized. I'm focusing on the folds of the fabric. Here essentially the pattern follow the natural drapes of the uniform, which really help to sell the scale of the miniature. Moving down to the trousers, I'm actually using the exact same Camo dark green for the Pea Dot 44 pattern. Even though the oak leaf and the Pea Dot 44 are different style, they share the specific base tone. Here I'm focusing on the base shapes again, making sure the coverage is solid before we got this characteristic dudes. For small dudes I choose to use orange 10 from the IK. To add some depth and shadows to the entire model, I apply a dark tone wash. I'm letting it flow naturally into the recesses around the detail to define the shadows. Step is crucial because it ties all around the camouflage color together and really make the texture of the uniform stand out. For the layering of the camouflage, I use brown base across the helmet, tunic and the trousers. Using this same base tone on all the parts of the uniform help maintain a consistent look, applying it over our previous layer to build up the complex multi-tone effect. Assuring the transition between the green and the brown look natural and warm in. When applying the brown base, I'm careful not to overlap the green blotches. Instead, I'm applying the brown base in the empty space to complete the green shapes. This keeps both color distinct and sharp, which is vital for clean looking camouflage at this scale. For layering orange 10 blue cheese, I use orange 10. Now I'm going back with some layering with the calm dark green. I'm using it to reinforce center areas of the sharps, the edges of the entire blotches. By layering this color again, I can control the opacity and make sure the green remains rich and the satur provides a strong ensure for entire camouflage pattern before we move on to the final details. Next I'm going to start painting into the dark green blotches using a brain green. The goal here is to create small sharps with the dark one leaving it thin border of the dark green visible around the edges. This two-tone effect is what gives the oak leaf pattern in the depth and make the camouflage look much more authentic and layered. Moving on to the helmet, I follow exact same process I use with the green dunes, but this time with light brown. I paint the small shapes inside brown areas. To bring out the highlights, I mix a bit of AK brown base with a sky grey. I'm applying this mix to the highest point of the fabric and the folds and the edges of the helmet to simulate light hitting the uniform. I'm using sky grey to lighten the brown. Instead, the pure white keep the tone natural and desaturated, which is more realistic for military gear. I follow the exact same logic for the green highlights, create a custom mix to catch the light on the upper parts of the uniform by applying the brink tone to the top of the folds and the edges of the green pattern. I'm adding another level of three-dimensional detail. It will help the camouflage pattern pop and prevent the green areas from looking flat under the camera. Since I'm working in 1:56 scale, the dudes need to be incredible precision to avoid looking out of the place. I'm using Camo dark green to carefully strip the character piece onto the trousers at this scale. It's all about a balance. You want the pattern to be recognized from a distance on the table but sharp enough to hold up under the clothes. I'm focusing on the keeping my brush tip sharp and the paints constantly just right, not too water but thin enough to flow off the brush easily. I'm placing that those strategically to bring the gap between the large camouflage shapes, making sure that distribute feel natural and mimic the chaotic look of the original German Pea Dot. Working with calm dark green at the scale region, very steady hand. I'm not just placing random blobs. I'm trying to think about how the original fabric was printed. Notice how I'm driving the brush slightly to create those jagged leaf-like edges. This helps to break up the flat areas of the miniature and give it the uniform its characteristically busy look. Even though we're working on tiny surface, taking the time to vary the density of the green makes a huge difference in the final result. Next I'm adding orange then to add the final layer of the dudes. This is where the Pea Dot 44 pattern really starts to look complete. There bring the spot provides a sharp contrast against the dark green and brown base we are already laid down. I'm being very selective with their placements, cutting their across the dark patches and the base fabric to create the high contrast flickered effect at the 156 scale. Their tiny dots of orange then are what catch their A from the tabletop, give the miniature its distinct for appearance. It's a meticulous process, but seeing the camouflage finally click together make all effort worth it. To finish off the pattern, I'm adding the final sets of the dudes using light gray. Their dudes are crucial for adding the last layer of the total variant. I'm staking them among the dark gray and orange then, spot to break up the large shape even further. In the 156 scale, it's so easy to overdo. It's so I'm keeping them small and crispy, making sure they don't blend into each other. This is final touch, adds a lot of visually interesting and mimic how to different dye layer on the original fabric. Now that's all the color are done. You can really see the complete of the Pea Dot 44 pattern come together on the legs of the miniature. Now it's time to work on base. For the groundwork I use chocolate brown. Tinted with water 1:1 ratio. I choose the special ratio to ensure the paint flow easily into the all knocks and the crash of the texture with clothing up the small detail of gravel. This creates a solid deep earth tone with provides a perfect contrast to green and tints of the camouflage to bring the base to life and add some realistic vegetation. I'm applying a few grass tufts. And it's a complete our late war of German soldier in 1:56 scale. If you enjoy the process, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more painting tutorials, and let me know into the comments what you camouflage pattern I should paint next. Thank you for watching and happy painting.